Welcome back. They're making the turn in the second heat of the 25 runabouts. Coming into the chute, Tim Ross in boat 75M was in first place after the first heat.
Well, the drivers have really jammed up on the inside. The top runners have decided they want to run down the inside of the course. And now they start to spread out a bit. They're locked into lanes here, and they make that all-important run to the clock. Boat 1 U.S. Schaub, and he figured he was early, and the blue boat passed him just at the line. But that was someone who did not figure in the high points in the first heat. So let's watch how they sort themselves out going into corner number 1. That all was very tricky, difficult to see, and lumpy turn 1 as you have the 12 best 25 runabouts in the United States competing in this, the second national championship heat.
Two boats coming out of the turn, neck and neck.
Oh, we got a boat race down the back straightaway, as you're exactly right, David. Two boats coming out of corner number 1, side by side. A good battle for third and fourth as well, as the first 4 begin to move away from the clump that follows behind. That looks like Hearn to me. No, it's Ross again on the inside. It's the 75M of Ross with about a 1 boat length lead. The other boat is buried in a spray, and we can't pick up the number yet. But that is Ross, the winner of heat number 1, trying to reassert himself and make a two heat sweep of it.
Right up there with Ross is Brad Schaub, and Hearn, or Schaub rather, running third. Ross on the inside.
It's DeWald. It's the 24P of David DeWald, the many-time world champion in this class, challenging on the outside of Mike Ross.
Coming up in third is Schaub, and in fourth place, the 11R boat, which is J.W. Myers of Seattle.
Trimmed out beautifully down the front straightaway. David DeWald is trying to inch closer and closer to Ross, the first heat winner. Now DeWald figured, I believe, in fourth place after heat number 1. And Ross seems to have the smoke today, though. David, when he's on, is difficult to beat, but so far it's been Ross, the Michigan driver.
And Ross has run pretty well in a couple of classes here today, also faring well in the C runabouts.
Yes, it's still Ross out front, and now he seems to have opened up a margin on the 24P boat of David DeWald. We're about halfway through this one now. This is the second of 2 3-lap sprints to crown the 1992 national champion in 25 runabout.
Schaub seems to be closing a bit on DeWald, coming on the outside into that second turn. Still running in first place, though, Tim Ross, West Bloomfield.
Oh, he spins it, lost it. Spit out. Tim Ross gets spit out of the boat, and that's just the mistake that David DeWald was waiting for. We're waiting for the signal of clasped arms that Ross is okay, and I think I just saw it. So racing will probably continue. And with 1 lap to go, there's that man again, David DeWald out front with 1 lap to go. Brad Schaub in second place. Now, he could win the national championship with 2 seconds. I believe Schaub was second in heat number 1, and as we talked about earlier in the broadcast, David, it is possible to win a national championship without winning either heat. Could happen here.
Hearn is running in third.
Hearn, we found out later, had been disqualified for jumping the gun in heat number 1, so he won't be a factor in the overall standing.
Well, if there was something good about the wipeout down on turn number 2, it's that the boat went to the inside and wiped out inside of the buoys.
Yeah, that's right, and he's out of harm's way, because that's certainly a break for David DeWald. Had they had to throw the red flag and restart the heat, they'd have to go back and do it all over again. And now, sitting pretty, is the many-time world champion in small runabouts, David DeWald of Reading, Pennsylvania, a second-generation racer. His father, a champion in his own right since the 50s, and here's David out front, as he's accustomed to being. Always the man to beat in the runabouts. But you know something? It just might be Brad Schaub's day. 2 second places may do it for the national championship.
DeWald coming around the final corner, and he came up a bit high. Still able to hold the boat down as Schaub tries to close coming around the final turn. Schaub coming up along the outside. Goes a little bit too wide, and it looks like it's going to be David DeWald. DeWald pulling back just a bit as he comes into the home stretch, and he will take the checkered flag in 24P. Schaub will finish second. So we will have to wait and see the way the point totals turn out for this 25 Super Stock Runabout here at the 1992 APBA Stock National Outboards on Sunday Lake in Wakefield, Michigan.
Well, you got to give Brad Schaub credit for consistency. He obviously didn't have the fastest rig out there this week. I believe he did manage 2 seconds, and if I'm correct in my appraisal of where he finished in heat number 1, that will earn him the national championship. A first and a fourth does not beat 2 seconds.
And right there, you've got to feel a little bit for Tim Ross, who ran so well in the first heat and was running really well in the second heat, and he lost it coming around that second corner. We'll take a look at it again as Tim Ross will lose it coming out of the corner. There's Ross out in first place. He had a fairly comfortable lead, and as he comes into the corner, watch right about here, and there he goes.
It hooked on him right at the pin. He probably had to give it a little crank to keep that tight arc, and it's what we call the back end blowing out of the boat. The propeller came out of the water, and it hooked to the inside and then spit Ross out, and well, that's an early Saturday night bath and a very big disappointment for Mr. Ross from Michigan. You can bet on it. He was rehearsing the victory speech, I think, at that point.
So Brad Schaub, the unofficial winner of heat number 2. We'll be back with more from Sunday Lake in Wakefield, Michigan, right after this.